This is Bible School Radio, KDKR, Decatur, Dallas, Fort Worth, KYJC, Commerce, and KMWC, Bethany. Portions of KDKR programming do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or staff.
Prudent Money with Bob Brooks is sponsored by the Prudent Money Foundation on 91.3.
Well, de-escalation or a historic moment. Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, if you've got a question for me or anyone on the Prudent Money staff, you can always go to prudentmoney.com and send the question in. There's a link at the top of the front page that says Ask Prudent Money, and just go up there, send that link through. We'll get you taken care of. That's off the website. A lot of great information on the website. We're actually going to be rolling out a tool that will help you with your 401k plan, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But anything else, you need to get in touch with us or go check out the podcasting. You can listen to every program that we do do on the radio. That's off the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Let's talk a little bit about what happened this weekend. And probably this is not going to be, most people know this, but basically we attacked Iran Saturday night. And of course, promptly they vowed to retaliate against us. And so this really set the stage for, there's two roads you can go down. And I'm not so sure that we know yet which road we're going down. But you can go down a road where the tension and the stress are high, and but ultimately it de-escalates, and they are able to sit at a table and hash some type of peace treaty out. Or this can turn into what I call a historic moment, where we put a line in the sand and told them not to step over it, and they stepped over it. And then we attack them, they attack us, and there's cybersecurity attacks and just all kinds of, it's a war, basically. I think that's what would happen if we decided to go down that road. If you look at history, that's most of the time, no matter how bad the battle gets, it does get to a point where it de-escalates. So let's talk a little bit about what we don't know. And I was thinking about this today as I was just contemplating what I was going to talk about in regards to this today, that we always got to keep in mind that we don't know what President Trump knows, obviously. So there's a very good reason he's doing what he's doing. And I think there's always the chance that we're guessing wrong as to what's going on, but he knows what the critical information to know and what the threats are. So we know that we don't know the state of the Iranian nuclear program following Saturday's bombing. Now, if you ask President Trump, he did talk about this Saturday evening. About a couple hours after it all happened. But he said it was a successful military operation, destroyed everything, and we succeeded. Well, you won't really know that. Of course, that's what you expect him to say. But you really won't know anything about the exact results until 2 or 3 weeks, and when they get the experts to do an investigation. The second thing that we don't know is how good our intel is, and based on that, we would know if they still had access to nuclear weapons, and if we didn't get it all, and if they moved material from one spot to another spot, that the missile, the bombs couldn't get to. What we don't know is what resources Iran has at its disposal from other countries. And this was mentioned on a few media networks, is that there's, of course, a lot of countries that don't like us. That's being polite. And would very easily give Iran resources to aid in the fight. And then, what is the probability that they could fight back with a terrorist attack on American soil? And then, did this just start World War III, or will it be something that de-escalates? We talked about that. So there's a lot, I think, and I was watching CNBC today throughout the day, having on the background. They're already doing the spiking the ball in the end zone as if we've won. I wouldn't get too overly. In fact, the entire stock market was that way today. It was acting just like it's no big deal. This is over with. Hope it's over with. But what we do know is that Iran should have been prepared for the worst case scenario, and they should have expected it. So what I mean by that is that this, whatever the attacks from us on them, they should have been well prepared for that, to know that they can still put up a battle on the other end if they decided to. I would say that there's a low probability that this will automatically end in a peace treaty. In the worst case scenario, it's going to drag out for a long time period. But and you could debate that one. You could debate that one of two ways. I mean, if you look at history would probably call it a low probability. If this turns out like everybody thinks it will, then it'll be just another back and forth type situation where we bomb you, you bomb us, and then it's all over with. The thing that what we do know is if we bombed Iran and we've joined the war, and then how all of this plays out will be up for the history books. We didn't know it this morning, but we found out this afternoon what type of retaliation will occur, and it was an attack on Qatar. Excuse me. I actually did practice saying that. That was a tough one. And once again, the way it went out, the way it happened, brought the question: is this a path to de-escalation? So we still have. I think we still have a lot to see and evaluate. One of the things that does concern me, and it's not, it goes beyond the war, is the stock market, and the fact that it didn't even barely even registered anything negative today. In fact, it finished up. And most of the indexes finished up close to 1%. But it's a situation where the stock market dodges another bullet. And my concern is, as investors, we're going to get to a point where we're just kind of lulled to sleep, and there's just no big risk. There's no big anything we have to worry about. And, already in the early afternoon, CNBC was talking about this was de-escalation. Then they went to tariffs, and the guy was talking about tariffs being no big deal. And then now it's just down to corporate earnings. And we went from a situation where we had an enormous amount of risk, according to him, down to zero risk in a couple of hours. I think that you still have to have a cautious mode about yourself, and we got a long way to go. We got a lot of situations to deal with, and of course, there was really no concern about the economy either, when there really should be some concern about the economy. But it looks like the markets are taking a wait-and-see approach. They could have been up a lot more today, but it's just one of those things where risk is not gone. And as far as the market goes, it's not in a situation where it is riskless by any stretch. So continue to monitor your risk and make sure that you feel good about the risk you're taking, that you're not taking too much for where you are in your life. And I would suggest that that the answer to that deals with how much risk that you want to take in just as an investor, but also how much risk is between the today and the day that you need it. We'll just call that retirement. And what and how much are you willing to risk before you need the money? I mean, if it's a situation where you're 3 to 5 years out, I would definitely evaluate the risk and say take that risk level down some. That's not a situation where I'm giving you advice or anything. It's just what I would do. You're in a very a very important spot on your timeline. If you're 5 years out, even up to 10 years out, and there's definitely things that you need to do and risks that you need to monitor, because we'll go back to the 5 years out. If you were to take a big hit in the market, you don't have the time to make up, and it can be a tough situation. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you have a question for me, please go to the website at www.prudentmoney.com. There is a link at the very top of the first page. It says Ask Prudent Money. Just send your question. We'll get you taken care of. This is Bob Brooks. We're up against a break. Stick around. I'll be right back. Hello, this is Bob Brooks. Proverbs 22:3 and Proverbs 27:12 are the exact same verse word for word. I call them the stewardship verses of risk. A prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. On the Prudent Money Radio Show, we teach about risk, how to identify it, how to figure it out, and what to do about it. We believe that to be a prudent steward, you have to be a good risk manager. Listen to the Prudent Money Radio Show on Bible School Radio 91.3. Prudent Money, home of the modern-day steward movement.
Dynamic, practical, life-changing.
There's no point in going to church and not letting the Christ who gave birth to the church on the day of Pentecost change your life.
Join us each day as Pastor Paul Shepherd applies the timeless truth of Scripture to everyday life. It's Destined for Victory on this great station.
Weekday afternoons at 3:30 here on Bible School Radio, KDKR.
When we found Veronica, she didn't have much food to eat.
The Tikva Children's Home, located in Odessa, Ukraine, cares for hundreds of homeless, abandoned, and abused Jewish children.
The Tikva Children's Home surrounded Veronica with love and care.
A donation today of just $40 will help children like Veronica feel loved and cared for. Please help, won't you? Call 800-593-7934 or online at blessedjews.org.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. I was talking a little bit about the new 401k tool we're going to be rolling out and putting on the website. Hopefully, we'll have this done by the end of this week, but it'll be, at least I do know it'll be before July 4th at the very latest. But excited about this because for once I can talk about how you manage risk, and you can actually look at something in real time and start to figure out, okay, this is how I should have my investments invested based on 5 different portfolios. And it's something that you can use for your 401k. You can even use it if you have an advisor that is managing or investing your money for you. It was interesting, and this is all, by the way, all this information is in real time. So you can see exactly performance-wise how these portfolios have, at least these models of this portfolio, and how they performed. But it was interesting because I've looked at these numbers and broken these numbers down many, many times. But one of the things that I noticed was let me break down the 5 portfolios first. There's what's called safe money, and that is money that you can't and you don't want to lose any money. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you'll lose any money. Down to conservative, and it shows the breakdown of stocks to bonds in conservative, then moderate, same thing, then growth, same thing, and then what we call aggressive, and that's 100% stocks. And one of the things that I've noticed that there's really not a big difference in the amount of risk that you're taking. And I'm going to show, when this is all completed, I'm going to show you tons of data that really spells out how this particular the model portfolio worked in the bad times, which I always talk about. That's what you have to understand, is how do they work when things are the risk is high. And we're looking specifically at these 2 different types of investments, stocks and bonds. And we developed it this way just because most 401k plans, that's all you do have is stocks and bonds. But one of the things that I noticed, let me get back to that, is that there's a big difference in return between a moderate and a conservative investment. And granted, you could make the argument very easily that the amount of bonds that are in the conservative is the reason why that the moderate is performing so much better. But really, if you look at it, there's not that much more in bonds in the moderate portfolio than there is in the conservative portfolio. So basically, you're taking a lot less risk going from conservative to moderate, but yet you're getting way more return. And which is something that jumped off the page of me that I hadn't noticed. And I think having this visual here for you in real time will really help you understand, because we can talk about this on the radio, and it's tough to understand it sometimes unless you can actually see it. And also, I give the risk score, which I'll explain on the site, the risk score of each one of the portfolios and how much risk you're taking versus the market. So I think it's going to be a lot of really good information to use, and information that will help you get your portfolio where you want it and help you monitor and manage risk. And that is such a strong stewardship principle, managing risk. So I'm real excited about it, and we'll be rolling it out. We'll probably do a webinar as well, so that you can take it and take a look at it and figure out how to interpret it yourself. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about, and you've seen this, the commercials on pretty much on satellite, on cable streaming. You'll see the software package that is being marketed as the easy way to make money. And what I've always told you is that anytime something seems real easy to use and is marketed as being very easy to use, there's some built-in risk that you just don't know about, because nothing is easy. Nothing is predictable. There's no little black box that has it all figured out. But yet, the people who want to sell you this software want you to believe it. And so this has the similar marketing that most of the software packages have. And this one in particular is powered by AI, so artificial intelligence. So right there, that's gonna bring a lot of people in, because that's what everybody's talking about today. And it basically tells you when to sell and when to buy. It's easy to use. You don't have any you don't need to have any experience at all to use it. So the software package that's going to change your life, it's going to make you double-digit returns, probably. You don't need any experience at all. None at all. So the question comes up, will I make money? And it says that depends entirely on the amount of leverage asset, and it has assets in brackets, you apply to the market. With the right setup, the sky's the limit. And then it says our AI-powered chartless trading systems are designed to target 1% profit per week, leveraging automated strategies with strict risk control. I'll tell you this, if you told me that I could make 52% profit year in and year out, and and my risk is controlled, it's an automated strategy, it's really just easy to use, I would tell you, where can I sign up? And I'm going to buy this black box. I'll pay whatever I have to pay for it, and it can just do my job for me, and I won't have to do it. It's because it just doesn't work that way. And then they have something about that they will even fund you $500,000 to start out. Now there's very little, they don't really talk about it. You have to call to get any information, any prices, any information, of course, so you can talk to a salesperson. But what's interesting, if you go to the fine print, which you really can't print out, you can't copy and paste. It's hard to take away off the site, and they do that on purpose. But in the fine print, it says this is hypothetical scenarios, which there's nothing wrong with showing models not with hypothetical scenarios. But what it says in the fine print and what it says in the beginning and the opening page is two totally different interpretations of the software. But hypothetical trades, so those trades have never been placed or executed. And then if they reference any security, it should not be taken as giving advice. Then my favorite one is, we don't give advice. So what is this piece of software really do if they show you a security and they talk about that security, but they're not talking about it because you shouldn't buy it or sell it because they're showing it or they're recommending it? Oh, don't say recommend. That's not, because they're not recommending anything, because they don't give advice. I point this out just because I don't know what's really going on with this still, but I just know that there's way too many red flags for it to make sense to count on anything like this. I have no idea how much it costs, but to count on you to get to your retirement goals. Plus, they're talking about options and strategies and this type of thing, which is some of the hardest investing strategies that you can try to use to make money. It's a boom. Most of the time, it's a boom or bust type thing, and you're going to hand this to the novice who's never had any experience at all with investing. Unbelievable. So so this one this one was advertised on CNBC, and there's another one that I've talked about in the past that is even way more outrageous than this. How in the world of course these aren't really monitored by the SEC or anything because they don't kind of cross over into that regulation. But anyway, just be careful. This is Bob Brooks. You got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.